On October 12, 2023, a fierce autumn storm swept through the small town of Willow Creek, Oregon. Cold winds howled through the surrounding pine forest, carrying an eerie whistle that seemed to whisper secrets of nature. Emily Harper, a 24-year-old woman with long golden hair and deep blue eyes, departed this world inside her modest wooden cabin on the town's outskirts. She was found motionless in an old armchair in her living room. No wounds, no signs of struggle, only a faint smile lingering on her pale, waxy face. The local coroner, Dr. John Carver, concluded after an autopsy that Emily had died of sudden cardiac arrest. Yet, the cause remained elusive. Emily was healthy, with no history of heart disease or substance abuse, and she radiated vitality. She worked at the town library, loved old history books, and often shared with friends the strange dreams that had begun haunting her. The Harper family, her parents, and an older sister, held a quiet funeral at Willow Creek Cemetery. Townsfolk gathered under the rain, murmuring about odd occurrences before Emily's death. Old Mary, her neighbor, claimed to have heard singing from Emily's house a few nights prior, despite no one else being there. Emily's best friend, Sarah, revealed that Emily had spoken of recurring dreams, a rotting wooden door opening into darkness, and a raspy voice calling her name, Emily. Emily. Emily Harper's death left behind not just grief, but a spark of curiosity in the sleepy town. That enigma would soon draw a group of daring individuals into an unthinkable experiment. In Portland, 2 hours from Willow Creek, a group of rogue scientists met in a dimly lit room, illuminated only by flickering desk lamps. They called themselves the Prometheus Group, a name inspired by the Greek titan who defied boundaries for knowledge. Leading them was Dr. Alan Grayson, a neuroscientist expelled from the University of Oregon for controversial experiments on postmortem consciousness. The team included Rachel Kim, a tech engineer skilled in advanced surveillance devices, and Michael Ortiz, a psychologist studying near-death experiences. The Prometheus Group had caught wind of Emily Harper's case through local news and social media rumors. To them, her death was a rare opportunity. Alan believed consciousness didn't vanish immediately after the heart stopped, a hypothesis he'd spent a decade pursuing. If we can record what happens in the first hours after death, we'll redefine how humanity views life and death, he said, his voice low but resolute. Rachel, deftly assembling equipment, had designed a specialized system, a tiny camera with infrared, thermal, sound, and motion sensors, capable of operating in a sealed coffin. It'll capture everything, every whisper, every 0.1 degree shift, she explained proudly. Michael, the quietest, nodded, his eyes gleaming with curiosity and unease. They planned to act in secret. Installing a camera in Emily's coffin was not only unethical, but illegal. Yet, for the Prometheus Group, scientific pursuit trumped all obstacles. They set their sights on the night before her burial. On October 14th, as thick fog blanketed Willow Creek Cemetery, the Prometheus Group slipped into the grounds. The cemetery lay on the town's edge, encircled by towering pines whose rustling leaves whispered ghostly tales. Emily's coffin rested in the cemetery's small chapel, awaiting burial the next day. The Harper family had left by afternoon, leaving behind a stillness broken only by steady rain on the roof. Alan, Rachel, and Michael, dressed in black and carrying backpacks of gear, picked the lock on the chapel's rear door, an irreversible step. Inside, a single candle on the altar cast light on Emily's dark oak coffin. Rachel opened the lid carefully, revealing Emily's body, eyes closed, hands crossed over her chest, still beautiful despite her deathly pallor. Rachel installed the camera in a corner above Emily's head. Compact as a fist, it was camouflaged to avoid detection. It'll activate when the lid closes and beam data wirelessly to our server, she whispered, her voice trembling in the frigid air. Alan double-checked the setup, while Michael stood guard at the door, eyes fixed on the darkness outside. They left without a word, guilt and anticipation weighing on them. They had violated the sanctity of death, but opened a door to the unknown. On the drive back to Portland, Alan broke the silence. Tomorrow, we'll know the truth. On the morning of October 15th, after a brief burial ceremony under the rain, Emily Harper's coffin was lowered 6 feet into Willow Creek Cemetery. No one, not her family nor the townsfolk, suspected the high-tech device humming inside. In their Portland hideout, the Prometheus group gathered around a computer screen, awaiting the first data. At 11 a.m., the signal came through. The footage was pitch black, as expected in a sealed coffin. But then, the audio sensor picked up strange sounds. First came the patter of dirt hitting the lid as workers filled the grave. Then, in the silence that followed, a faint hiss emerged, like a weak breath. Rachel amplified it, and the group froze as a whisper crackled through. Emily. Emily. A raspy voice with no clear source. Alan frowned, striving for calm. It could be whined through a crack, he said, though his tone wavered. Michael countered, there are no cracks in a sealed coffin. The thermal sensor fluctuated, jumping from 15 degrees Celsius, normal underground, to 17 degrees Celsius, then dropping to 12 degrees Celsius in minutes, defying natural patterns. The screen stayed dark, but at 2 p.m., a faint glow appeared, a hazy shape drifting across the camera's view. Rachel checked the equipment, ruling out glitches. This is an external light. It's inside the coffin, she murmured, hands shaking on the keyboard. They exchanged glances, speechless. What they were witnessing outstripped all expectations. That night, the Prometheus group split up to analyze the data. Alan, leveraging his neuroscience expertise, suggested the movements and sounds tied to natural decay. As the body breaks down, bacteria generate gas and heat. The whispers might be air escaping the lungs or vocal cords, he argued, clinging to science. Yet his theory couldn't account for the glowing shape or Emily's pre-death dreams. Rachel, from a technical standpoint, confirmed the equipment's integrity. If it were a malfunction, we'd see consistent noise, not these sporadic events, she said. Michael, leaning toward the metaphysical, offered a bolder idea. Maybe Emily's consciousness lingers. Near-death studies show brain activity persists briefly after the heart stops. What if it lasts longer than we think? They debated into the night, divided between science and the supernatural. But they agreed on one thing. More data was needed. The camera would record for another 48 hours, and what came next could change everything. As darkness enveloped Portland, the whisper echoed through the speakers again, clearer this time. Let me go. When the clock struck 1 a.m. on October 16th, tension filled the Portland apartment. The Prometheus group huddled around the screen, its blue glow illuminating their anxious faces. The whisper, "Let me go," had just sounded, leaving them stunned. Alan, usually composed, replayed it, analyzing each syllable. Rachel zoomed in on the audio spectrum. This isn't wind or gas. It has the structure of a human voice. Frequencies between 100 and 300 hertz, she said, her voice trembling. Michael paced the room. It's her. It's Emily. I know it sounds crazy, but she's trying to say something, he murmured, staring into space. The footage remained dark, but the motion sensor detected faint, rhythmic vibrations, like something shifting inside the coffin. Alan checked the thermal data. It spiked from 12 degrees Celsius to 18 degrees Celsius in seconds, then plummeted to 9 degrees Celsius. This defies basic science, he muttered, gripping the table. At 1:37 a.m., a new sound emerged, not a whisper, but a soft, steady tapping. Tap, 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 as if someone knocked on the coffin lid from within. Rachel sobbed, and Michael shouted, "We have to dig her up. She's alive." Alan, pale but firm, restrained him. "Impossible. We saw her buried. This isn't life, it's something else." After that harrowing night, the Prometheus group sought answers in Emily's past. On the morning of October 16th, Rachel drove back to Willow Creek with a laptop and questions. At the town library, she met Sarah, Emily's best friend, under the dim light of dusty bookshelves. Sarah shared details she'd kept private. Emily changed a month before she died, Sarah said, her voice heavy. She started having weird dreams, a rotting wooden door in the dark, a voice calling her. Once, she woke up crying, saying she felt someone in her room, but saw nothing. Sarah paused, wiping tears. She found an old book here, a handwritten journal from the 19th century, author unknown. She was obsessed, reading it over and over like she was hypnotized. Rachel borrowed the journal Sarah had kept after Emily's death. Its worn leather cover smelled of aged paper. Inside, Yellowed pages told of Abigail, a woman from Willow Creek in 1876, who claimed a curse trapped her soul in her body after death, aware but unable to escape. The journal ended with a shaky line. "Let me go." Back in Portland, Rachel showed it to Alan and Michael. They were struck by the parallel between the coffin's whispers and Abigail's final words. "Maybe Emily got tangled in something bigger," Michael said, his voice haunted. "A curse? A town memory?" Alan shook his head, clinging to reason. "We need data, not legends." On the night of October 16th, the coffin data grew chaotic. The tapping tap, 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 mixed with faint moans, like stifled sobs. Motion sensors detected stronger tremors, as if something pushed against the lid. The dark footage showed faint streaks of light, moving like a figure's shadow. Rachel's analysis revealed a chilling detail. The streaks formed a shape, a small, delicate hand, like Emily's when alive. "This isn't a glitch. It's too distinct," she said, her voice breaking. Alan, unable to deny it, slowed the footage, revealing the glowing hand reaching toward the camera before fading. The coffin's temperature swung wildly, from 5 degrees Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius, then down to -2 degrees Celsius in minutes. Another anomaly emerged: scent. Rachel's chemical sensor detected lavender, Emily's favorite flower, and perfume. How can a scent linger in a sealed space during decay? Michael asked, unanswered. At 3 a.m., a sharp, chilling scream erupted from the speakers, startling the group. It was brief but piercing, sending Rachel tumbling from her chair and Alan spilling his coffee. Then, silence, absolute and deafening. The camera kept running, but the phenomena ceased. On the morning of October 17th, the Prometheus group faced a crisis. The events defied simple explanation. Alan tried to systematize the data. "We might be seeing an undiscovered biological process. Maybe Emily's brain lingered, producing sounds and movements," he said, sounding unconvinced. Rachel objected. "No biology creates lavender scents or glowing hands. My equipment's flawless. I've checked thrice." She began siding with Michael, who'd long suspected the supernatural. "It's Emily's soul. She's trapped and begging us," he said, pointing at the now-dark screen. The argument raged for hours. Alan suggested exhuming the coffin for direct study, but Rachel and Michael fiercely opposed. "We've gone too far already. Digging her up risks everything, legally and morally," Rachel said. Michael added, "If she's conscious, it could hurt her more." They settled on monitoring for another 24 hours. Yet a question lingered. If this was Emily's soul, why couldn't she leave? And if not, what was happening 6 feet under? On the night of October 17th, the camera resumed with new disturbances. After 12 hours of silence, whispers returned, clearer than ever. "Help me. I see everything." The voice trembled with fear and desperation. Rachel sobbed. "Is she watching us? Does she know what we're doing?" The footage shifted. From total darkness, a faint white glow illuminated Emily's face inside the coffin. Her eyes were shut, but her lips moved, mirroring the recorded words. Alan nearly fell from his chair. "Impossible, infrared can't do this," he stammered. Motion sensors detected stronger tremors, as if Emily tried to sit up, yet her body, after 48 hours, should have been rigid in decay. Michael grabbed Abigail's journal, reading aloud. "Let me go." He turned to Alan. "This isn't new to Willow Creek. Something's holding her, like Abigail." At 4 a.m., the whispers stopped, replaced by a deep, final sigh, as if a burden lifted. Then, silence. The camera ran on, but the coffin grew still. After that final sigh on October 18th's early hours, the coffin camera recorded nothing. The Portland apartment sank into a heavy stillness. Alan, Rachel, and Michael sat before the screen, each lost in thought. The footage showed only darkness, the temperature steady at 10 degrees Celsius, and motion sensors dormant. Rachel broke the quiet. "Is she gone?" she asked, her voice hoarse from strain. Alan, eyes bloodshot from sleeplessness, shook his head. "We can't jump to conclusions. This might be a pause. Her body's decaying. Activity would taper off." Michael, clutching Abigail's journal, disagreed. "She's not resting. She fought to reach us, and now she's exhausted." That sigh, it was a goodbye. They agreed to let the camera run another 24 hours, staying put to avoid missing a breakthrough. While Rachel checked the gear, Alan cataloged every event: whispers, taps, lights, lavender, the glowing hand. He sought a scientific pattern, though doubt gnawed at his logic. As dawn broke, the apartment felt stifling. Rachel opened a window, letting Portland's cold, rain-scented air rush in. But even that couldn't lift the oppressive weight. They knew the story wasn't over. On October 18th morning, Michael suggested a bold move: investigate the cemetery's history. If Abigail was trapped like Emily, there's a bigger secret here, he said. Alan reluctantly agreed, and Rachel, though weary, joined to hunt for clues. They drove to Willow Creek with Abigail's journal and basic tools. The cemetery glowed faintly under morning sun, its mossy tombstones silent amid the pines. In the oldest section, Rachel found a small, weed-covered stone. Abigail read, 1852 to 1876. May God free her soul. Michael compared the journal's handwriting to the engraving. It's her. This is Abigail, he said, trembling. Alan scanned the grave with a handheld EMF meter, detecting a faint signal, too weak for significance. Could be soil minerals, he muttered, unconvinced. They noticed something odd. Small pines formed circles around Abigail's and Emily's graves, 150 years apart, like invisible boundaries. Rachel photographed it, noting, "This isn't random. Something links these women." As they left, a sudden gust dropped the journal, opening to let me go. That night, October 18th, the coffin camera sprang back to life. At 9:15 p.m., motion sensors logged a strong jolt, like a strike against the lid. The dark footage flickered with a white glow, sharper now, a woman's silhouette, standing, head bowed toward the camera. Rachel screamed, "It's Emily. Look at her hair. It's hers." Alan zoomed in, confirming the long, tousled locks. But her eyes, though hazy, seemed open, staring with an icy gleam. "Impossible. She's been dead over 3 days," he whispered, hands shaking. Whispers returned, unbroken. "I see." "You stop." The voice carried anger and despair. Michael leapt up. "She knows what we're doing. She's begging us to stop." Rachel, crying, countered, "We can't. If she's aware, we have to free her." The temperature soared to 25 degrees Celsius, defying the cold earth, then plunged to -5 degrees Celsius. Lavender filled the sensors, stronger than ever, as if Emily's presence intensified. At 10 p.m., the silhouette raised a hand, and a small pop crackled through the speakers. The screen flashed, then went dead. When the signal died, chaos erupted. Rachel scrambled to the server, but the connection was gone. "The device is destroyed." "Something in there blew it up," she said, voice breaking. Alan, losing composure, slammed the table. "Impossible. Metal and plastic don't explode without a physical trigger." Michael, wild-eyed, pointed to Abigail's journal. "Don't you see? This isn't science anymore. Emily and Abigail, they're trapped by the same thing. A curse, a force, call it what you will. We've stirred it." He turned on Rachel. "You built the camera. You dragged us into this." Sobbing, she yelled back, "I didn't know. I just wanted answers." The fight lasted past midnight. Alan, shaken, tried to unify them. "We've lost live data, but we have the recordings. Let's analyze before deciding." Yet the Prometheus group fractured. Michael stormed out, needing space, leaving Alan and Rachel with data that felt more like a curse. On October 19th morning, Alan and Rachel reviewed the last footage. Slowing the clip of Emily's silhouette raising her hand, they saw a tiny spark, like electricity, shoot from her fingers before the signal cut. "This isn't natural light. It's energy," Rachel said, trembling. Alan's audio analysis showed the pop resembled an electromagnetic pulse, not a chemical blast. If true, Emily's consciousness, or something in her, generated enough force to fry the camera, he admitted, edging toward the supernatural. Rachel's chemical data peaked with lavender just before the failure, Emily's final mark. They called Michael back, convincing him to return. He arrived with a new idea. "We must free her. If Abigail and Emily are bound by the same force, the answer's in Willow Creek, maybe deeper." Alan and Rachel exchanged looks, silent but resolved. They couldn't stop now. As the sun set, the Prometheus group planned their next move. returned to the cemetery and faced the mystery they'd unleashed. On October 19th evening, the Prometheus group left Portland silently, their old SUV winding toward Willow Creek. Alan drove, eyes weary but focused, while Rachel clutched Abigail's journal. Michael gazed out at the misty pines. They carried EMF meters, thermal sensors, and a recorder, hoping for final answers. At Willow Creek Cemetery, night had fallen. Fog shrouded the tombstones, and wind whistled through the pines like a ghostly tune. They stopped at Emily's fresh grave. Rachel's EMF meter buzzed instantly. "The field's stronger than before," she said, shaken. Alan's thermal reading dropped from 8 degrees Celsius at the surface to 4 degrees Celsius near the soil, unnaturally cold for Oregon's fall. Michael knelt by the grave, whispering, "Emily, if you hear us, give us a sign." The air stilled, the wind halting as if the world held its breath. Then, a faint sigh rose from the ground, not through the recorder, but in the air itself, echoing the camera's last sound. They froze, staring at each other. "She's still here," Michael said firmly. After Emily's sign, the group resolved to dig up the coffin, an illegal, risky act, but unavoidable. Alan grabbed a shovel from the trunk, while Rachel and Michael lit the way with flashlights. They worked quietly, the only sounds their labored breathing and shifting dirt. When the shovel struck the oak lid, they paused, exchanging a final nod. Alan pried it open, releasing a cold gust laced with lavender. Inside, Emily lay in decay, skin gray, hands skeletal across her chest. Yet her face was striking, eyes closed, lips curved in the same faint smile from her death. "She looks calmer than I expected," Rachel murmured, gagging at the stench. Michael set the recorder beside her, pressing play. Silence reigned, then a whisper, not from the device, but around them. "Thank you." The voice was soft, relieved. Alan dropped his flashlight, startled, as Rachel wept. "She knows we came back. She's thanking us for not abandoning her," she choked out. The moment shattered as white light erupted from the coffin, blinding them. When it faded, the air normalized, no readings, no anomalies. Emily remained, but her smile seemed to fade, as if she'd truly departed. Back in Portland on October 20th morning, the Prometheus group dissected the night's events. Alan offered a scientific take. Maybe Emily's consciousness generated electromagnetic energy, interacting with her surroundings. Opening the coffin released it, ending her state. His voice lacked conviction. Rachel, analyzing the recorder, found the "thank you" matched Emily's living voice from an old video Sarah shared. "It's no coincidence. It was her, not a trick or nature," she argued, fully embracing the supernatural. Michael read from Abigail's journal. "I hear everything but can't escape unless someone opens the door." He looked at them. Abigail was trapped for a century with no help. Emily was different. "We came. Our act, though wrong, freed her." They agreed the coffin phenomena blended biology, post-mortem brain activity, and metaphysics, a trapped soul. But what bound Emily and Abigail? A Willow Creek curse? Or a deeper enigma? After reburying Emily on October 20's dawn, the group faced inevitable fallout. Exposure, camera, exhumation, recordings, meant legal trouble and outrage from the Harpers and Willow Creek. Alan suggested destroying the data, but Rachel and Michael resisted. "This could redefine death." "We can't erase it," Rachel said. They compromised. Encrypt the data on a hard drive, hide it, and reveal it only when ready, perhaps years later. Michael kept Abigail's journal as a reminder. "We owe Emily and Abigail a full explanation. Someday, we'll return to Willow Creek," he said. They parted ways. Alan quit neuroscience, writing books on life's edge. Rachel left engineering, blogging anonymously about mysteries. Michael became a spiritual counselor. The Prometheus group dissolved, but Emily's memory bound them forever. A week later, on October 27th, Sarah visited Emily's grave, laying lavender atop the soil. "I hope you found peace, Emily," she whispered. As she left, a breeze carried lavender's scent. Natural or Emily's final sign, no one knew. In Portland, the encrypted drive rested in a locked box, awaiting its day. Abigail's journal sat on Michael's shelf, its last line unchanged. "Let me go." Yet both women seemed freed from Willow Creek's unseen curse. Emily Harper's tale stayed within the town, but it left a lingering question. What happens after we close our eyes? Science explains part, but the whispers, lights, and soul's pain remain mysteries humanity may never grasp. Beneath Willow Creek's cold earth, the truth slumbers, awaiting bolder explorers.